Welcome to the Gear Garage Live Show. This weekly YouTube show covers whitewater rafting, river safety,
oh God, I lost my paddle,
gear, and anything else Zach feels like rambling on about.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys like the new intro. I think it's pretty funny. And this is a show I do almost every Tuesday. Next week I might do it on Monday or Wednesday. We'll see because I'm in a meeting. But I try to answer questions that are submitted either ahead of time on Whitewater Guidebook or during the show. And so there's a question right now I'm just going to get to since it was submitted as a comment. Thanks for keeping the show going. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy taking the time to talk to people, and just this time is interesting to me. I learn a lot. These discussions are fun. So yeah, of course. Opinions on having separate frames on a raft. Example, longhorn frame in the back and a separate frame for a cooler and dry box in the front. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're asking is, should I have one big frame that's a big thing, or a separate longhorn with a separate cooler frame? And I'd be a pretty big fan of the separate frames, because I feel like if you're doing a multi-day trip, you want to sit on something. You want to have cooler space, dry box space. You want to have all the things. But if you're doing a day trip, you just want a simple longhorn frame. And so it gives you more adjustability or more options to do both multi-day and day trips. When I teach rowing classes and somebody shows up with a massive frame, you know, it's so much work to get the frame on it and then carrying the boat down to the river and back up. Because not every put-in is just a trailer, back it down. Sometimes you have to hike a boat a little ways to carry it up a hill and lower down a cliff. And so keeping frames simple and light for day trips is awesome. And I feel like that's how you get good experiences day trip boating. You can't, if you just do the Rogue a few times a year, maybe like a permit river you get, you're not going to be that great of a boater. I think it takes reps doing like your backyard run, doing the American in California, doing the Clackamas here in Oregon, doing the Payette in Idaho. Just if you're back east, I don't know, whatever rivers you guys do, the Ocoee's probably something you guys all do. I don't boat back east, so I don't know, but there's probably a run where you go boat on your weekends, and and then you get ready for your big multi-day. So having that frame that can be both a single day simple frame that's light, you're more likely to go, because you don't have to like also to get ready for a day trip and have to put the big heavy frame on, and you have to sit on a cooler sometimes and all the stuff. You're probably not going to do the day trips because it's so much work to lift all that stuff and deal with it. So that's hopefully, Christian, I answered your thing there. So getting back to the show, we have a website, Whitewater Guidebook. This is where I use to just store stuff. I actually have some pretty cool stuff on here that a lot of people don't know about. There's a tab under Gear Garage for interesting articles where I kind of there's a lot of articles that aren't on the web, but they're PDFs. And so this is where I kind of keep track of them as I find them. Some really cool articles about the Avon rafts. A really cool rafting course instructor manual that I like. Some cool articles about mechanical advantage, heuristic traps. A lot of some discussion about AED devices and whether they're useful. And so when I find an article that's a PDF, I'll upload it and save it here. So there's this here. There's a bunch of descriptions of rivers. If you go to like Oregon, there's the most because I live here. But a lot of other states have descriptions. And under Gear Garage, this is where you can ask or add a comment. The message, this is just put in here. Unfortunately, this box sucks for a message. And I'm still working on making it better. Write your message in an email, use complete sentences, and then copy and paste it into here. That's probably the easiest way to go. And this is how I'll answer questions. There's also a forum I've created just to answer questions quickly. And I'm sure this spring, when people are doing, it's mainly around the Illinois, Middle Fork, Oahe, and the Rogue, which I know a lot about because I outfit there. This is a place to like ask quick questions or just general questions if you want. So yeah, this show is also a podcast, and so it's not meant as a podcast, but you can see here we make a page for it. We put the video here. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. It's really meant, the video I think is important, but it's meant as a podcast. So if you want to listen to the audio part while you're driving or something, that's an option. So we're here to answer questions and kind of whatever else I feel like talking about. And I have a few things I want to talk about at the end. Let's see. Is anyone here? Oh, you know what? I might have accidentally turned on some music. I was playing with some of the settings. Is it lower now, Chris? I was goofing around with like the settings while I was waiting for 2 o'clock. Okay, so the first question on the live show today. This refers to last week. You mentioned that you're having an upcoming show about cold weather and rewarming. I think I mentioned that I'm going to do a podcast about what to bring in the winter. Um, it was more, yeah, I was going to do a Gear Garage show about what to like winter kits, which I did, and there's a video, there's a Gear Garage show about my winter kit, which is actually right here. This is basically my winter kit right here, and it's really just my regular kit with a few additions. But I thought it'd be a good time to go over, what I bring boating as a kit. So cool. I'm glad that worked, Chris. Anyway, I've started doing SAR search and rescue work here in Alaska, and I picked up a cool trick for rewarming hypothermic patients that I think is worth sharing. Many of us pack a thermos full of hot tea in an empty platypus water bladder. If our rescue subject is severely hypothermic, the tea goes into the platypus to be placed against their skin for rewarming. Milder patients can drink tea, and if all goes well with no hypothermic cases, I get a nice cup of tea when I'm back in the car. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I think what happens, this makes me think about something. I feel like a lot of people who do search and rescue or firefighters, they bring their like land-based rescue techniques to the river. And I think that they don't always apply the same. And in this case, I think if you're a land-based rescuer, like a firefighter, search and rescue, you're showing up to a scene where somebody's been there for a couple hours. They may be hypothermic. I think hypothermia is a real risk for search and rescue. It's just for boating, it's not something that comes up really. We talk about it. I'm more worried about cold water immersion accidents. But like usually we get people out of the water pretty quick because we're on a boating trip with them. And what's that noise? Anyway, we're on a boating trip with them, and there's boats. And so if somebody falls in, one of the boats pulls them back in. People are rarely stranded without proper equipment for a long time. And if somebody is stranded, they're generally in a dry suit or a wetsuit. And so hypothermia, if you look at American whitewater accidents, you just don't see hypothermia on there. It's just not like a thing we deal with. So I think for search and rescue, yeah, having a thermos full of hot water is awesome. And having techniques for hypothermia are awesome. I'd rather us focus our energy on other things that I think are more important than hypothermia. And one of them specifically is cold water immersion. You quickly falling out of your boat. You falling out of your boat, and there's just a quick cold shock. And so I'd rather people have dry suits or wetsuits and paddling jackets and proper layers and cover themselves up, or even like a temperature gun that tells them that like there's little infrared temperature guns that tell them the temperature of the water so they know how to dress appropriately. I'd rather have a temperature gun and somebody goes, oh, it's 59 degrees. Maybe we shouldn't go today because we don't have wetsuits or dry suits. I think that's more important. Now, a thermos full of hot water and tea is awesome. Like, I'm not gonna say no to it. It's a smart thing to bring in the winter for a lot of reasons. I don't think for handling hypothermia, that is what I would bring it for. That's just my opinion. But it's not like, yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I think, let's see, is there another part to this question or? Oh yeah, no, let's go back. So I think a generalization when I go winter boating a lot is people just bring too much stuff. And so we're spending way too much time at put in carrying all these bags of things down to the river. And then at the end of the day, carry them all, like untying them, carrying them back up. And sometimes because we're spending so much time at put in or we're jangling and messing around, we get a late start, which then turns into a light issue. So I'm a big fan right now. Like, let's keep things like in one bag, simple, organized, easy to rig, easy to de-rig. That's a big deal to me for cold weather boating. Like, let's not spend all day out there. It gets dark at 4:45. And so if we don't get out, if we're slow, we don't get on the river till noon, and then there's some sort of problem on the river, and then we could be in trouble. And I think everything adds up. So my big thing when I made the video about it is like, let's keep all of our stuff in one bag, just one bag to put on the boat rig, when we're done, take it off. We're not rigging 8,000 bags full of things. And for cold weather stuff, this is just my little cold weather pouch. I have some things start a fire. Like if somebody's really cold and we're like not close to the road, some tea is certainly nice, but a fire is going to make a difference. Also, there's some like emergency blankets here to wrap them up in. Again, the tea, the bladder, helpful for sure. But this fire and a blanket are way more important. And then the headlamp, because there's less light. And a number of times I've had to boat out in the dark or hike out, like we wrap a boat or something happens, we have to hike out, is large. And so having a headlamp with you is great. I have a little butane lighter in here. I've just bought a Zippo. Zippo lighters are really cool. They're fun to mess with. Maybe put a Zippo light, a windproof Zippo lighter in there. But I'm going to really focus on the ability to long-term solve the hypothermia problem if there is one, which is like emergency blanket and a fire, yeah. But again, and then having tea, bring the tea. Great. It's just hard to rig a thermos in sometimes. You have to make it. It's a whole thing. So, okay, let's move on to the next question. Hopefully I was positive enough about my response there. Again, it's not bad to bring a thermos of hot stuff. I just don't see hypothermia as like a major. It's just not a major threat to boaters for a number of reasons. And yeah, okay. I'll be interested in a series of how-to and best practice based on multi-day river camping techniques. It would be great to see how river guides and experienced river users meet the 4 rivers lottery standards for groovers, fire pans, garbage transport, and dishwashing, gray water disposal. I know this may sound simple to someone experienced, but I think the information would be helpful in cutting down on pollution by inexperienced users to these beautiful places. Yeah, I've probably done videos on this stuff before. I can't remember, but I can just go through this really quick. The 4 rivers lottery, for those if you don't know, is the Idaho lottery for the Middle Fork, Maine Salmon, Selway, and Hell's Canyon, which are pretty prime permits. And let's see if I can make this. There we go. So for groovers, use a groover. I'm not sure what else to say other than use a good groover. If it's just like if you're using like an ammo can with a plastic bag in it and you're planning to throw the plastic bag away, that's pretty sketchy. Like, don't do that. If you're using an ammo can, it's still not that great. Like, I would go ahead and let's go here. I would highly suggest the Selway groovers. And I know they're expensive, and not everybody, if you boat once a year, it's a lot of money. These things are awesome. It's $500, $485. It's an expensive groover, but they're just simple. They're not, we had the metal Johnny partners for a long time. The lids change sizes, so they lock on. You couldn't get the lids off. And if they're in your raft, falling on a metal thing is worse than falling on a plastic thing. And it's just simple. They're just way easier. So get a groover. And if you can't afford this one, get something. Don't just use a bazillion wag bags, please. So yeah, step one is just like get a groover. Fire pans. If you want an elevated fire pan, ideally, it depends. If you're kayaking, you're not going to bring an elevated fire pan. Fire pans are also really expensive. Let's go back to here. Let me make it big again. If you go to Johnny, the cost of everything is expensive. So I think Johnny Partner makes a fire pan, and I heard it's just crazy expensive now. Let's see if it's here. Dutch ovens. Maybe they don't make a fire pan. Cooking accessories. Oh, there we go. Fire pans. It's at the top. Yeah, $700 for a large fire pan. I get it. That's expensive, and not everybody's gonna be able to do it. But there's a little mini pan, and so using a fire pan is big. But I think even more important is getting a fire blanket. And I think NRS is the only place that sells. I don't even know if they do. They used to sell fire blankets. Oh, this one right here, the Fireside. You can get on Amazon for less. We'll look at it. Actually, hold on. Let's go to NRS fire blanket. Here we go. Get a fire blanket. This one's. We have this one, the FSP one. Oh, it's no longer available. So that's too bad. But this one right here, this is the one we use now that they replaced that one. That way, when stuff inevitably falls out of your fire pan, you can just kind of get them in the morning, get it all up and dump it somewhere. and you have a responsibility to carry your ashes out. So you need some sort of. We use a 20 mil ammo can for ash, and we carry it out. What the smart thing to do is have a big can for ash, and then re-burn it every night in camp. So if you have like a 20 mil can, I think it's 20 mil. It's like they're this tall, but they're this full of ash. Dump the ash on, start a fire on, they'll burn the ash down, put it back in there. If you keep putting the ash from a 6-day trip, it's going to fill up really fast. And people, then might start putting ash in the river, which I'm going to say is not best practice. You definitely should be doing the Middle Fork because the clear water being one of the outstandingly remarkable values based on the Wild and Scenic River designation. So get fire mats are huge. So that's for fires, garbage transport. I mean, put it in a. I don't know what else to say other than like transport your garbage out. Like you have dry boxes. The food we're in, those become trash boxes. And pick up trash in camp. I set up camps in the Middle Fork all the time. If I'm driving a speedboat and the first one to camp, setting it up, I find trash more than I should, Band-Aids, stuff. And so it's just being a good steward of the area. I don't know if a video is going to make anybody do better. And dishwashing, gray water disposal. So gray water, it depends on the river. If it's a river where water quality is protected, like the Middle Fork, gray water goes above the high water line. So that way, like it doesn't, even though high water comes, doesn't wash it into the main river. If it's a river like the Rogue, gray water goes into the river. And so where water quality is not that great, you're not making it worse by throwing gray water in there. So, and then, excuse me, when you have your like dishwater with like pieces of food in there, you pour it through a strainer to like collect it and then throw that stuff away. So I don't know if this person's asking me for videos because they want the answers to this stuff or they want me to tell others what to do. Like, hey, stop being dummies. The dummies aren't listening to me. So me making the videos, I could make these videos. Maybe I will someday. It could be a great idea. But unfortunately, I don't have like all the things here where I'm at now. I have to go to Southern Oregon or Idaho to get like all these things you're talking about. But good suggestion. Thanks for the suggestions. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Matt's saying rest stop is dope. Bags are heavy duty and come with enzymes. Rest stop. Let's look at this, Matt. How you doing, Matt? Rest stop I think rest stop are just bags, right? There's a whole toilet. Oh, these things, man, $71. So this is certainly an option. Is it really dope? Is it more, Matt? It can't be more dope than the Subway, right? It's just a bucket with a lid. I mean, if you're over 230 pounds, this is going to be challenging. Sitting on this thing, having not tip over. Then this is like, if it tips over, poops on the ground. It says it's a sturdy top locking base, and this is just like a Gamma Seal lid. This is just a bucket with a Gamma Seal lid and like a plastic toilet. And then, but does it go into a bag? The commode has been tested to withstand 300 pounds of pressure yeah, it can withstand 300 pounds. But if a 300-pound person sits on this, I don't know. Is it just this bucket or other? Looks like this is what you want, the bag. So it looks like you put these bags in here. Yeah, or heavy duty enzymes. Yeah, and then what do you do with the bags, man? You put them in a trash can somewhere. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'd rather have people have good. This is the problem. And if you have this kind of groover, if it falls over, you're not gonna. I mean, hopefully you clean it up, but like, I think people might leave that. That's problematic, and people might be hesitant to use it and then do something that isn't as responsible. But for 100, this one's 112 for the price. I guess you can't beat it, but it's pretty gross. I'm just gonna say this is gross. Matt, this is gross. But better than nothing. 100% better. 100%. This is not 100% better. Are you saying this is 100% better than a Subway toilet? That is insane. That is wrong. This is 90% worse. There's no way this is better than a Subway toilet. a ducky. We should do a ducky multi-day show. Okay, so if you're doing ducky multi-day show, or ducky multi-day, I'm gonna show you. You have two options. You have. Let's go back to Selway. This first one is the bomb option, Matt. I'm sorry to have to be educating you on ducky stuff, but I'm about to educate you. The mini bank. This thing was designed for duckies. It's like tapers down to be sitting in the front of a ducky. I've used this on ducky overnights. This is the bomb. It's sturdy. The poop goes in there. You can clean it really easily. It's not gross like these rest stops. This thing is sweet. It won't fit in like an Air Lynx where it's all pointy at the end, or like a Sotar pointy ducky. You need like a real overnight ducky. But this mini bank, I have one. I love it. I absolutely love it for ducky trips. But I don't carry this into the Chetco. If I'm going Chetco, oh, sorry, everyone, this is not up. I'm still on the old one. This is the mini bank. Selway. So Selway makes the one I talked about earlier. They make the river bank, which it's $500 worth it. It's a lifetime investment. But then the mini bank is where it's at. This thing is really cool. And so you can kind of see from the photo that it's like straight on the sides, but then tapers down to sit in the front of a ducky. But if I'm going to go lightweight, lean and mean, I'm going to go, what's that one? Let's see if NRS sells it. I think NRS, this one. Really, if I'm going to go bags, I'm going to go, this one's probably the same weight as a bucket, but it's not a bucket. You're sitting on a bucket. It's a bucket. It can tip. This thing has like legs. It folds up really small, about the same size as a bucket, maybe smaller. Has like the seat built into it, and you hang the bags below here, right? So it's like you hang the bags, people poop in the bags. You get 4 poops in a bag, and then I bring one of the. There it is. Oh, sorry everyone. I did it again. I opened up. I'm still on this one, but I want to show you all this. This one right here, the clean waste. And so this one has to use bags. You use wag bags, and wag bags hang perfectly from it. It's a nice system. The legs fold up, and you have this nice little carrying case. You just rig this thing in a ducky. This thing is way easier to rig in a ducky than like that random bucket. So let's go back to, what's that thing called again, Matt? Oh man, rest stop. Let's go back to rest stop. Just a bucket. It also, like, there's nothing to rig this into a boat. That's a metal handle. Like, this is a bucket. This is a $5 bucket. They're selling for, with a gamma lid, which costs $10. So it's like a $15 bucket with this thing. They're selling for $71. Honestly, the people that get upset about how expensive Yeti buckets are should get really pissed off about this. But how do you rig this into anything? This is ridiculous. So what I do, though, going back to my little seat thing, is with the wag bags, I then bring a bucket with the gamma lid, and I throw the wag bags in this thing, and then I put that inside of a dry bag that gets rigged in. I have a dry bag that fits buckets. And then, because it's not like, if you use bags, you got to put the bag somewhere. So my complete system is the God, did I just do this again? I keep opening up these things and not showing them. So right, this thing is the thing. Like, this is just a bucket with a metal handle, like a cheap metal handle. It's just a bucket and this thing is all called a gamma seal lid. You can buy these for $10 or maybe less on Amazon. So what I'll do is I'll bring a bucket with a gamma seal lid to put the wag bags in. So they're just away stored. They're not mixed with the trash, because you don't want to get to camp and open up a trash and have a wag bag from last night in there. It is disgusting. You want a bucket of just wag bags. And so we bring a bucket with a gamma seal lid that we put all of the wag bags in. And at the end of the trip, the whole bucket gets thrown away. It will never smell proper again. But I do it with this toilet seat. And I'm convinced that this toilet seat is the way to go. Okay, I probably have a bunch of comments from Matt, and then we'll get to everything else. Okay, everything goes into the bag on the rest stop. You seal every camp and put into a waste 5 gallon. That's the problem. Is you put in a waste 5. You take the poop out of the bag and you put it in another 5-gallon, that 5-gallon is pretty gross. And that 5-gallon bucket will never smell the same again. Like you put one poop thing there for 3 or 4 days and you throw it out, that you'll never get that thing smelling the same again. They're treated they are appropriate for trash. Same thing with the wag bags. The wag bags are the same thing. They're appropriate for trash. You just don't want to go crazy. Like if everybody did that, like the Rogue, for example, people are throwing tons of wag bags in the toilets, and tons of wag bags in the so on the Rogue, people were doing wag bags like crazy a few years ago, and because they they took down a lot of the tents or a lot of the long drops. They took them out. People they didn't want to buy full groovers, so they're buying wag bags. And then the trash receptacle, the big trash dumpsters to take out, were just full of wag bags. And it's okay if you throw 1 or 2 wag bags or 1 or 2 rest stops in the trash. But when there's like a dumpster full of wag bags, the sanitation company was like, no, we can't have a bazillion wag bags. So if you're doing the Chetco, for example, and you throw a couple of wag bags in the trash, cool. But if it's like the Rogue, please don't be using wag bags on rest stops. That adds up big time. Tying them down is tricky. Matt, I actually have some perfectly shaped dry bags for buckets that have D-rings on the outside. So I put my buckets inside those bags. Okay, let's go back. There's a lot of stuff to catch up with. Let's get to, Matt mentioned this too, the Fireside outdoor pop-up pit. This thing is also highly recommended. Like I don't think it's good enough. So let's go to Fireside Pop pit. We tried it for commercial trips, and I don't think it's durable enough for day in, day out use. We broke it pretty fast. But this thing, so why is it so? It's this thing right here. It's really nice. It's pretty big. It has mesh at the bottom, so air comes through the bottom and like there's more oxygen. It does a really good job of being an elevated fire pit. Highly recommend it. Pretty affordable. It's like $60 or something. Yeah, this is definitely the way to go. We tried using it on our commercial trips, and it weighs nothing. Those $700 fire pans are 50, 60, 70 pounds. This thing's like 10 or 4. I don't know. It's not much. So yeah, thanks for that suggestion. That the pop-up pit is sweet. Bucket works fine. There's a bit of balancing. So you're probably like super fit and young. Imagine me. I'm, like a big person sitting on a bucket. And if it's perfectly in the sand in level, probably. But if there's rocks under it, it's a little bit of an angle. I could be falling off with poop all over me. Sean, Restore works great. I think it's Rest Stop works great for longer road trips. Yeah, 3-day Tuolumne. I could see like a 1 or 2 day trip. I could see it. Yep. So I used Johnny Partners for a long time, and I was absolutely sold on Johnny Partner toilets. And I think they changed from steel to aluminum or vice versa. The ones I had like in the late 90s, early 2000s, no problem. They were great. Big handles to grab onto. Let me see if I can pull one up here. And then we bought some more, and they were great. Wow, $945. Steel's getting expensive. $1,000 for the complete setup. So, there's like a separate. You take this lid off. You can't see the whole thing. That includes the cone of shame, which you need to clean it as well, unless you have this is for RV dump cleaning. So there's a lid that goes on top of here that gets clamped down, and the newer ones, the lid was expanding a little bit, and it would take like 3 or 4, 5, 10 minutes with like screwdrivers and tools to pop the lid off. And you do that once or twice a day for a summer, and you'll hate these things. So I think historically they were really good. They changed something with them. And then we also had a problem with them leaking. They started leaking after a while. They changed how they were made. So I'm not going back. And even if they're perfect, and then now that I use the Selway is better than this. It's just better. There's not like a separate, this thing, you have a whole separate, you have the tank and you have the whole separate toilet thing that is like metal and can get poop on it. The Selway is just one box and the toilet's part of it. So I am just super sold on the Selway. I think this is old technology. Rest stop. Yep. Okay, here we go. Treated. Okay, got it. I'm catching up with things here. Will the Rangers on the Rogue approve of the 103 legs wag bags? I hope not. I don't think they will, and I hope not. I don't think you should be using wag bags on the Rogue. We can't throw thousands of wag bags into one. I keep forgetting the word for it. What's it called? The dumpster. You just can't. Like, if you're gonna do the Rogue, bring a real toilet. Like, the wag bags are for like twirling, short trip. Not a zillion people using the same dumpster. There's no dumpster takeout, so not all the wag bags are going to the same dumpster. But if you're doing the Rogue, you need a toilet. And hopefully it's not one of those buckets. As long as you have seal. Yeah, you need seals. That's where the bucket with the Gamma Seal lid. So again, the bucket is like you buy a bucket, just a good bucket, and there's this thing called a Gamma Seal lid where you just like pound it down on the bucket, and it's this ring around it, and you can screw this thing into it. And it's pretty waterproof. It's not 100% waterproof, but it's pretty waterproof. Okay. Whew, we went down a rabbit hole there. Thank you, everybody, for your thoughts and comments. That was nice. Okay, let's move on from this one. Giving Tuesday. As today is Giving Tuesday, it is, and many charities match or even triple contributions. Which charities do you think people should consider? I'm asking about riverland conservation, of course. So I've worked with a lot of river conservation organizations over the past, and some of them are really well run, and the money goes to good use. Some of them, I see their employees spending way too much time at conferences and meetings and traveling and going to film festivals. And so I judge the ones based on what they get done, but also, like, is the money being used for like actual on the ground river protection, going to DC, going to places? Are they making good use of the money? Or is it kind of a fancy organization throwing parties and film festivals all the time and making films? Like, I don't think that river conservation groups should be making films. I just don't think it's a good use of their money. Maybe it's good for education, but there's probably better ways to educate, right? So I think some organizations are really well run, great, and some I would be hesitant to. I just want to say that. And Matt's saying Friends of the Eel. I have no idea anything about them, but I bet they're lean and mean. Let me share with you a few that I really like. The first one, the go-to one, is American Whitewater. They're so solid. Did I type it in right? And you can super easy to donate right there. Boom, donate. You can join, be a member. And I'm a lifetime member. I think it's $1,000 and you're a lifetime member. Yeah, $1,000. Do that. That's a great thing to do. And these organizations need members, because when they go to DC, they're like, hey, we represent 8,000 people. If you're in DC, I represent 8 people, that's meaningless. So the bigger the membership is, the more effective they can be when they're going to advocate. So if you're a lifetime member, they have you forever. They're like, what you count, it's $1,000. And you probably get a cool gift. If you do, let's see, join lifetime, you get a lifetime clean canteen travel mug. Pretty cool. How do you get the watershed bag? Hold on, $500 a year. That's a lot. $40 a month. That's a lot. Yep. So, wow. And if you join at different levels, you get cool incentives. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'd highly recommend American Whitewater. Be a member and give them some cash. Like, just give them a donation. Just really effective with their money. I don't think anybody's actually better than they are. Not only are they doing land conservation stuff, they're opening up rivers through dam relicensing. They're working on new put-ins, new takeouts. So they're giving us access to rivers, and they're representing us well on conservation work. That would be my number one. Number two would probably be, Man, what would it be? A really small one. If you like the Kalmiopsis, let's see if you can pay, if you can donate money. If you like the Rogue, I don't like the Rogue, but the Rogue too. My friend, and this is like a one-person nonprofit that is super effective, and she does a lot of work on the Rogue, Illinois, Chetco, Southern Oregon. I mean, super effective, and uh, giving them her money will be very, very well used. It's just it's an organization, but it's really Anne who's out there just doing great work. And you could say hey, I really want to donate some money and specifically to work on this. Oh, here our programs. It doesn't say. She's super effective. I've created a nonprofit. If you want to donate to that, Kalmiopsisguides.org, the Kalmiopsis Guides Association. See if it works. And this is an association that represents river guides and people that work in and around the Kalmiopsis. And we use the memberships and the money to do small projects around the Illinois River mainly, but also we try to send a few guides a year to DC, which we haven't for a while because COVID made it tough and the timing last year was tough. But we hopefully will this year send a couple of river guides to DC to advocate for the rivers. And that's what you really want. You want people associated with business to go advocate. If you're just hey, I love this place, protect it, you're going to get Democrats on board, but not Republicans. But if you're hey, I work in this place, this is where I make a living, and this place supports hotels, restaurants, supports me, please protect it. That's how you get Democrats on board. So the organization I started and I run is the Kalmiopsis Guides Association. So you can make a small membership donation there. Being a member is even better. Because again, I think we have 30 members, but being able to say we have 50 makes more of a difference. Who else? I really like KS Wild because I'm a big fan of conservation in Southern Oregon, and they also work in Southern Oregon. And so, it's just some Giving Tuesday thing just came up. KS Wild's a great organization. And they're working on the places I care about a lot. So those are the ones that come to mind. There's more, but those are the ones that just come to mind quickly. Okay. Whoa, here's some more comments. Oh yeah, Connor, thanks. Thanks for speaking up. We got to get you to DC, Connor. Actually, we got to talk about that if you're around then. The AWA, yeah, American Whitewater has done so much for opening up whitewater. It's unreal. If they didn't exist, it would be a different sport. It would just straight up be a different sport. It wouldn't be as great. And they're trying to get the T back. Yeah, you can do private trips on the T, by the way. You just have to pay an outfitter who has access to the road to drive your equipment in. It's a tricky one. Getting access to the T is a tricky one because the main road is pretty toast. Both the put in and takeout road are pretty toast. I'm not sure how fixable they are. And the South Fork Road, they've opened up access for outfitters, but it's a steep road. You do not want your average person driving that road. People start bringing Subarus down. You want a minimal number of cars who know that road going down there. So it is accessible for private trips. You just have to pay. It's basically Cedar Mac is the one doing it, drive your stuff in. Okay, good question. That's a good question. Here's another question. What do you find the best ways to stay in shape in the off season? How helpful is flat water rowing? I boat year round, so I'll just row. But I'm gonna say I did a video. There's a Gear Garage episode about staying in shape. If you Google Gear Garage physical fitness for boating, you'll find the whole episode. I think yoga is really important. Being flexible is just, especially as I'm getting older, I'm less flexible. So I think yoga is really important. Lifting weights is certainly helpful. Even if you're just doing push-ups and sit-ups, that's helpful. And then some cardio, go running or biking or stuff. I think those are the ways. I get a rowing machine or use a rowing. I think I'd rather do a rowing machine than flat water rowing in the winter. But a rowing machine would be great if rowing's a thing. But if you just did push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, some squats, some yoga, hiked, walked here and there, I'd probably be in good shape. Okay. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, boom. Yoga. Yoga push-ups and pull-ups are amazing. If you're doing push-ups and pull-ups, that's your lats for pulling and your pecs for pushing. Pushing is just push-ups, and then rowing is like almost like pull-ups, and flexibility is huge. Okay, let's go to the next question. That's a good question. I think we just have one more. Okay, with in-season permits being harder and harder to get and climate change also affecting river flows, what type and size of watercraft would you recommend for solo, low-water, multi-day trips? I don't carry a cooler, and I use mostly ultralight backpacking gear. So, first of all, I think permits are going to get easier to get because I think that we're dealing with a COVID backlog. Like what happened during COVID was, and even in fires too, and the Forest Service said, okay, we're not issuing permits, but if you have a permit, we'll give it to you next year. And they did that again, and they did that again. So there's all these permits backlogs from like 2000, 2001, even 2002 that we're still catching up with. So there just aren't as many permits available. And I think that there was a big boom in outdoorsy stuff, which I think is dying off a little bit. That's just my guess. So I think the permits will actually get easier to get over the next 5 years. Climate change affecting flows. Yeah, we've had good flows the past few years. I'm not going to recommend solo low water multi-day trips. I'm just not going to recommend solo trips. So I just want to I can't let that go. And every time solo trips comes up, I want to look at the AWP Accident Database because I think we're normalizing solo trips too much as a sport. I feel like if you do a solo trip, please know you're taking additional risk and you should do it below your level. But if you do a solo trip, please don't go to Instagram and say, did a solo lap, went solo. Like do it by yourself. If you boat by yourself, do it by yourself. Do it for you. Please do not come back and brag to everybody about how you boated by yourself. Just do that. So I always want to look at the database and see how people are dying on their. Oh, look, here's the first one. Darkness. We were just talking about that, like having a headlamp with you. Kayak pinned in a rock, PFD not worn, pinned against a strainer, PFD not worn, strainer, foot entrapment, and pinned against rocks or sieves. Wow, more than normal. I don't see any solo. Oh, here we go. One boat trip. Upper Tieton. Caught in a low head dam. If you get caught in a low head dam by yourself, who's going to save you? One boat trip. Oh, another darkness. Wow, that's crazy. I've never seen darkness until today. I've seen it twice. But PFD not worn, PFD not worn, PFD not worn. But if we're looking at this in the spring, we're going to see a lot more one boat trips. And so one boat trips they don't cause the fatality, but they're a factor in a lot of fatalities. So I just want to, every time this comes up, I want to make sure to make it clear. It's just not good form to solo boat. But if you do, I'm going to answer your question. What boat do I recommend for solo low water multi-day trips? It depends how light you're going. Duckies are sweet. Yeah, duckies. It just depends on you, really. Oh, man, low water multi-day trips. I'd probably go with the raft because if your ducky is loaded down, it's gonna just be lower in the water. And so if you carry the same amount of stuff in a ducky that you bring in a raft, that raft is gonna be super light and nimble and will just glide over rocks way easier. So if I'm thinking about like the Selway in August or low water Middle Fork, I'm thinking I want the biggest boat I can take with the least amount of stuff in it so that it sits higher and I go over rocks. So I'm a massive fan. There's a wing 13-foot boat. This is what's coming to my brain right now. That Tony Stark boat. That if you call, they don't. The wing 13-foot boat I like isn't on their website, But if you call them and say, I want the Tony Stark boat, they know what it is. It would be a sweet low water boat if you're going ultralight. And also a ducky. Like things like there's so many runs out there that people don't do, like Big Creek into the Middle Fork. It's like 3+ easy 4. You don't need a permit. Great ducky run. Yeah, there's a lot of great ducky runs out there. And I think that we get so stuck on like the permitted rivers, because the permitted rivers have reliable flows in the summer and they're beautiful. So if you think about spring runs, fall runs, maybe more spring stuff, that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. And or you're like, hey, I'll go when it's low. That opens up more possibilities. Okay. Solo as one per. Oh, so with other boats. Got it. Yeah. So you're in a boat by yourself, but you're not on a solo trip. So you sent me on a whole like tangent. Yeah, Blair, I'd go ducky. I know you have that wing Jimbo. That's a sweet boat, or like a 12 to 13 foot raft. But honestly, like you can get down a lot of stuff in an 18-foot boat. So if it was me and I want to go light and simple, I'd probably go like a big tube 13. Yeah, maybe a 14. Big tube 13, maybe a 14. All right, that is the end of the questions. Man, great discussion. Okay, so before we finish up, I want to share just something cool I found the other day. Actually, a friend of mine showed this to me. The Reos Sunglasses, and they're floating sunglasses. And I got some right here. I just ordered some. Let me put them on. Get back to this. Check them out. They look cool. They're polarized, right? I think they look cool. I don't know. They're kind of a little bit retro, but I think they have different designs. But they floating sunglasses. How awesome is that? And so all floating sunglasses. They have a bunch of different kinds for like, well, right now they're on sale. Oh man, what a deal. Maybe I'll get some more. $65 normally. Right now they're $40. And so there's no commission thing here. This isn't me trying to like, I just got some. I think they look cool. I think it's a great price and they float. I share that with everybody. So it's just reosgear.com, RHEOSGR.com. In case you all want some sunglasses. I mean, you can buy 2 or 3 pair of these for the price of some Smiths. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's it for the show. If you all have questions for future episodes, submit them through Whitewater Guidebook. I think I'm going to try to do a show next week. It might be a Monday instead of Tuesday, but we'll do something soon. And I really appreciate all of you that are members who like and subscribe. I'm catching up with NRS in terms of subscribers. That's my new goal. Have more subscribers at NRS. So if you haven't subscribed and you want to help me out, hit that subscribe button to meet my goal, and hit the like button. And yeah, that's it. We'll see you all next week. Where's my outro? Outro there.